somebody I have a lot of respect for in studio with me right now, Doug Burgum. The word entrepreneur is very fitting. Job creator, use any word you want. Doug and I have different political views on a number of issues. On some things we agree. The one thing that I can never criticize him for is his dedication and commitment to North Dakota. And Doug, I'm going to preface this by saying that you're not afraid to get involved politically. It isn't hard to check out the donations. You've donated very generously to the Republican Party, and many of those individuals in that party right now, you find yourself at odds with over Senate Bill 2279, because you as an entrepreneur, it appears, realize that we don't want to set ourselves up as a state that's for discrimination.
Well, that's exactly right, Joel, and this is an important bill because it's important that we have a state that welcomes all citizens, not just a subset. And this is a broader topic than just those that are directly affected by this gender in sexual orientation discrimination. It's all the families of these individuals, it's all their friends, and it's an entire generation. If you look at the 18 to 35-year-old demographic who strongly support this, it's a signal to that entire group that we're not a welcoming state. And we're in unusual territory. We have 23,000 jobs available in North Dakota right now. And we need to be thinking really hard about what signal we're sending to the rest of the country about whether or not we're going to welcome people to move to North Dakota, or whether we want people to move out of North Dakota. And we're not producing enough graduates to fill the jobs we have. We have to be a state that has net in migration right now for us to just mathematically fill all the jobs. And so this is just an important topic for the whole state.
Can you see a scenario where if the House goes with the House recommendation, where overwhelmingly they said do not pass this bill, and what the bill does, ladies and gentlemen, is the bill puts a law in place that doesn't allow for discrimination against people because of their sexual gender. That period. That's what the bill does. It says, you know what, you can't sit there and not rent an apartment to someone because of the fact that they may be gay. You can't sit there and say to that individual, no, you can't shop for a suit of clothes here because you're gay. That's basically what the bill does. And so if we sit here and kill this piece of legislation, could we end up being on the front page of every paper like Indiana is?
Absolutely. I mean, and look what we've seen with Apple. Tim Cook, speaking out about Apple. Mark Benioff from Salesforce.com says he's not going to be having any of his. It's a big, Silicon Valley tech company, a leader in the industry. They're going to be not traveling or holding events there. You've got the CEO of Angie's List, who they're an Indiana-based organization, and this is an individual who is a Republican who supported Republican candidates. He was actually Mitch Daniels' campaign manager, and he's putting a halt on a $40 million expansion in Indiana. And so it's a real deal, because if you take a look at organizations like Great Plains or Microsoft, 20 years ago we were extending our health benefits and spousal rights to domestic partners. I mean, this is a 20-year-old topic for tech companies, and now you've got other companies around the country that feel the same way, and they in an environment where we've got tight employment, we can't be having laws that says we're going to discriminate against a group of people. I mean, this is a country where we're based on respecting others' differences, and it seems so simple and so clear to me that we shouldn't be singling out one group for discrimination.
Doug Burgum is our guest, founder of Great Plains. He heads up the Kilbourne Group right now, and somebody that had worked with and partnered with Microsoft for years. I want to talk about it aside from this moral, religious connotations. Okay, so let's just go to the pure need for employees and creative employees, and speak to me like that, because I think you understand this far better than I ever would.
Well, I think again, it's like I said, we're in a spot right now. We're in unusual territory for the state. We have to change our mindset, because we're operating from a point of abundance as opposed to a point. We spent 100 years with a mindset of scarcity, and now we need to have a mindset of abundance. And in the 1980s and 90s, all of our graduates were leaving. All of our young people were leaving. Today we have to retain all those young people, and we got to recruit a bunch more to get here. And so if we have a perception, if we have a national brand as a state, like Indiana's getting labeled right now, it's basically putting up a sign that says, don't think about a career in North Dakota because we're going to discriminate against a subset of people. And that's a turnoff to a majority of the people in the 18 to 35-year-old demographic. I mean, it's a signal to all of them, but we're also talking about, the sons and daughters of North Dakota families, that are being affected by this. And we're talking about, future North Dakotans. This issue is not going to go away. So we're just not only discriminating against people today, we're discriminating against people that might live here or people that might be born tomorrow. And it's not a good thing economically for our state at any level.
You and I share one thing in common. We both have very aggressive young children that set their career path. They know what they wanted in life, and they worked hard to get to that. And yours are still working towards that right now. Is this a generational thing? Is this when I talk to my kids about this, Doug, they look at me like, "Oh, get over yourself." Why is your generation so? And so on my drive up today, I'm like, it's turning into a Republican Democrat thing. I understand that the Republicans are drawing a line. There are certain Republicans that are going to support this bill. In fairness to them, the Kathy Hawkins of the world are going to be there. They're going to support this anti-discrimination bill. So I don't want to label it as the Republicans have caucused and they've come out solidly against this. So I was debating whether or not it's a political ideology or whether it's a generational issue. Whether or not people our age, we used to play softball against each other. We're close in age because you and I believe this bill needs to pass. I mean, where's the problem? How do we fix this before it gets to the House floor?
Well, I'm not sure I have an answer to that question, but I think your earlier question about is it a demographic issue, and certainly if you look at the data nationally, and I think that matches here in North Dakota, is that the majority of young people support this. As you get into the older demographic, there's less support or less understanding of it. So this is a thing that over time, will fix itself because young people won't stand for this. And if you talk about my kids, Joe, Jesse, and Tom, 21, 19, 16, if I was on the wrong side of this thing, I'm not sure they'd want to be in the same house with me.
Right.
Because as they've grown up and with their friends and with the kids that they've gone to high school with, the kids they've been in service programs, whether it's Fill the Dome or theater, doesn't matter. They all think that as adults, for us to be on an issue where we think it's okay to discriminate, that doesn't make sense to them. So there's clearly a generational. And I think for when you get into the political side, I mean, let's talk about your sister, Senator Heitkamp. She wins a close race in North Dakota, and Rick Berg carries the majority county. She carries Grand Forks County. She carries Cass County. She wins by a few thousand votes. Those are the two of the youngest counties in the state. And I believe that this topic was a decision maker for her. I think this is
a big part of it.
I think this is one that carried her to the finish line. And if Republicans can't see that and look at it from the political, if you look at it from an employment standpoint, it's the right thing to do. If you look at it from a moral standpoint, that we shouldn't be discriminating against anyone, it's the right thing to do. And if Republicans are looking at it from a political thing, they should figure out it's the right thing to do because they're on the wrong side of this.